absolutely no heat source whatsoever. If there's no fire, you can't burn it down. So everything goes well till about the 1720s, and then the clerks start to complain. Because the paperwork was getting damp and moldy. The building was cold. So we thought, why don't we just put in a couple fireplaces? What's the worst that could happen? By 1747, what do you think we managed to do?
Burn the down.
You're seeing the pattern. Yep. So then we built the second capitol up. It looked at slightly different, but it was on the same foundations. And that one does stay the capital till 1780 when Jefferson moved the capital to Richmond. Now, it was used as various things, but it was abandoned eventually. Nobody really wanted to take care of a building this big in a city that wasn't the capital anymore. After years of neglect, half the building fell down. And by the 1830s, what do you think we managed to do with the other half?
Burn it down.
Burn it down. There you go. So nothing but a pile of rubble here for a long time. In the 1920s, Colonial Williamsburg got the property, and they built up a reconstruction of the very first capitol on top of the original foundation. So ground level below is original, ground level above is reconstructed. It was finished in 1934. It's already older than any other building ever got to be on this property. So when you look at it from out here, it looks like two separate buildings connected by a hallway on the second floor. Because we have a bicameral form of government, two houses to the legislature. We've got the people's representation on one side, they have the first and second floor of that building. The king's representation on the other side, they have the first and second floor of this building. The hallway that connects the two on the second floor, that's no man's land. Neither house controls that space, it's neutral ground. So we're going to be able to go inside, folks, but while we're inside, if you got any drinks, make sure they stay capped up and any food stays wrapped up. If you got chewing gum, trash, or harsh criticism, you can leave it in a barrel right there. And while we're inside, a mask is required to cover the nose and mouth. All right, follow me, folks.
All right, so we say this building here belongs to the King's representation, or the upper house. They actually conduct their business upstairs. They have their office up there. It's about half the size of the room. They don't need a very big space. There's only 13 of them. The governor, but he's appointed for life by the king. He comes here from Europe. He doesn't know anything at all about Virginia or how we make money. So he gets a council of 12 wealthy landowning Virginians. And they're also appointed for life. By this time in the 1770s, every single member of the governor's council is related by blood or marriage. And their seats have become hereditary seats. So if you're on the council and you die, one of your relatives just got a brand new job. Together, collectively, they're the executive branch. The governor doesn't act on it. But they are also the legislative branch, the upper house of our legislature. And they have control of this room right here, the highest court in Virginia. And there is room for 13 judges up there. Guess who the judges are on the highest court? They're the same guys. There is no separation of powers whatsoever. They are the judicial branch of government as well. So we say this is the general court or the high court. We have a two-tiered court system here in Virginia. We have this court, the high court, but then we have the county courthouses. Those are the lower courts. We've got one halfway down New Gloucester Street if you'd like to check one out. At all the county courthouses and all the counties in Virginia, they hear misdemeanors for free and enslaved folks. They hear felonies for being enslaved. This courtroom, we hear felonies for free persons for the entire colony. So no matter where you lived in Virginia, if you had a felony charge, they bring you here. We meet 4 times a year. We got everything in normal courtroom times. The prosecutor sits right here. The jury sits right here. Just like today, 12 individuals must come to a unanimous decision. Whether you get a jury of your peers,
No.
most people know. They're free white male Protestants, over 21 landowners. So we understand that most people are not getting a jury of their peers, so we try very hard. In the 18th century, we think your peers are people from your neighborhood. So we want at least half that jury to come from your hometown. We want them to know you personally. We want them to know your character. And if they're still willing to convict you, that's probably your fault. Right here we got the governor and his council. Now, just like today, you can request a jury trial, you can request a judge trial.
No matter which type of trial we're holding here, 5 judges must be present or we cannot hold court. We never ever try anybody with one judge because that's not really justice. What if you don't like you? It could never happen again. But more importantly, everybody that's on trial here is an innocent person. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Why would you allow one man to have that much power over an innocent citizen? So we divide that power up over multiple judges. So right here we've got the clerk of the court. Now the clerk of the court is paid really well. He's paid more than most people in government because he's a lawyer that's required to have 7 years experience. And the reason we require that is because we don't require your judges to know anything at all about the law. The clerk is here to answer their questions. And he makes sure nobody accidentally breaks the law. Now, our defendant is going to stand right here and face the court. You stand trial. Is he represented? Most of the time, no. If you can afford an attorney, you can have one. If you can't afford one, you'll be here unrepresented. Well, we don't have the right to a court-appointed attorney until the 1960s. Another thing we don't have in the colony, we don't have any kind of prison system. So if you are found guilty of a felony, what's the punishment? Hanging. Yeah. In the 18th century, we think imprisoning you is cruel and unusual, and for some reason, hanging is not cruel and unusual. Now, that being said, we do go around hanging everybody. The majority of people that come to this court are found not guilty. We have a low conviction rate, and we're happy with that. And of the ones that are found guilty, only about a quarter of those ever get hanged. You could do something called benefit of clergy. And that's the fanciest term I've ever heard for beg for your life. So once you're found guilty, ask these guys for benefit of clergy. And if there is good news, they'll give it to you. They're not required to. And they let you go home. After they tie your hand to the bar here in front of everyone, and they brand you on the inside of your hand. You are marked for the rest of your life, but you did get hanged. And the brand does become your punishment. The people won't treat you the same, and they won't do business. But you did get to go home. Now, you're carrying your record around with you. What happens if you get convicted of a second felony?
They're going to hang you.
You will be hanged at that point. And courts are spectacle. Even today, we love to watch court, but there's no Judge Judy and no television back. You got to show up when you want to watch court. And everyone was required to stand out of respect for the officers of the court. So there were no benches, and there was standing room only, a sea of people, spectators, witnesses, defendants, all mixed together on the floor.
It was their entertainment.
Well, rich people want to watch court too, right? They don't want to do it here with us. They get the balcony. That gives them the added benefit of being able to literally look down on all of us. Now, the balconies can also be used for law students. In the 18th century, you learn to be a lawyer the same way you learn everything else, apprenticeship. So the balconies can be used, law students can sit and watch and learn. Now, we really like our form of justice here at Virginia. In fact, we've got multiple magistrates at the county level, multiple judges here at the highest court. We don't make any significant changes to our court system until after the Civil War, until 1869. We keep all of that same magistrate system in place. We did make one change immediately in 1776 when we became a commonwealth. And it affected the court a little bit. It was concerning these guys up here. The guys who are in charge of making the laws and enforcing the laws get to judge you on the laws they made. What chance do you have? So in our new system, we said all 3 branches of government have to stay separate and have to mind their own business. You can only serve on one branch of government. So right here we've got Queen Anne. Now she was queen when the Capitol was built. You're out front of Circle of Arms on the clock now. And she's the reason we know so much about the first Capitol. Now, I'm not going to say that our legislators were cheap, but they were very fruitful, and they tried to get the queen to pay for everything. So they wrote down how they painted stuff, and they wrote down what the stoves they used in the building and things like that. So the reason we know about the Capitol is because of everything they wrote down to try to get everything. So any questions for me about the High Court or about the upper house of our legislature? All right, so currently today, and see if this sounds familiar to you, the upper house writes a bill, and they'll send it off to the lower house. Right? And if they don't like it, they'll make changes and then send it back. And then these guys don't like it, so they make changes and send it back. Does that sound familiar? Who do something like that? That's insane. Now, in the 18th century, as soon as the two houses realize they're not in agreement, you remember that room I showed you that connected two buildings? They will both send representatives into that neutral ground area, and they will do something really strange and mystical that we don't do today.
Compromise.
Yeah, compromise legislation. Don't tell anybody, other people might want to do it again. Once they decide the bill, and that we call it the joint committee room for compromise back then, and they take the bill back to the respective houses to be voted. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk under that joint committee room, and we're going to end up over in the lower house of our legislature where the people's representative is an ancient term. Its very first definition, citizen. So again, the people's representation. Unlike the governor and his council, we elect our burgesses. We get 2 from every county, 1 from every city, and 1 from the College of Williamsburg. And they will come in here to legislate, but when they get here, they will pick one guy to be the spokesman. And we're going to call him the Speaker of the House. Because we're not very effective, right? The chair, the reason that chair is very well is because that's the Speaker's chair. Speaker of the House of Burgesses is the highest office that any Virginia can hold. Now, by the 1770s, there was over 120 men in this room. And we all know it's easier to get a small group to agree to something than it is a large group. So they also have the second floor here. They have multiple rooms up there, committee rooms. We have several standing committees in Virginia: Indian Affairs, Maritime, Transportation, Ways and Means. We like our committees. Politics has not changed. So what we'll do is we'll put 8 to 10 guys on the committee and let them figure out the bill. And then they'll bring it down here to the floor of the House and we'll read it out. If they read it 3 times and no one suggests any changes, that's considered automatically passed. They're not required to vote on it. They can just send it right over to the upper house. Now, once they pass the law, it's not a root law. It's a temporary law. Because when you're a colony, who's really in charge?
King.
The king, yeah. So the king actually gets to decide if he likes it. If he signs it, then it becomes permanent. If he doesn't sign it, every law they write will automatically disappear. So we have portraits of the monarchs so that they never forget who their laws is. So over here we've got George II. And across from him is his Queen Caroline. Now, we like George II. We send him a whole lot of money. He completely ignores us. Everybody loves that relationship. Over here we've got his grandson, George III. We have nobody shoot that guy. And his Queen Charlotte right over here. Now, above the door is the seal of the colony. In the middle of the seal is the coat of arms of the king. And that shows the 4 dominions that the king claims to have control over. And underneath, written in Latin, Virginia is the 5th. We claim to be the 5th dominion of the British Empire. We're British subjects, we're British citizens. Right up until May of 1776. And that May of 1776 should sound a little bit familiar to you. The most important thing that happened in this building happened. The 5th Virginia Convention was meeting here. And by that time, the colonies have been fighting Great Britain since April of 75. By December, Norfolk, our largest city, burned to the ground. By May, the king had declared all the colonies, including Virginia, to be an open rebellion. He sent thousands of troops to New York. And the men of Virginia realized you only got 2 options left. You could submit to the king, you can declare independence. And in May, they unanimously voted to declare independence from Great Britain. And then very quickly realized you can't just declare yourself independent, can you? It is not that easy. You would leave Virginia without a government. Nobody wanted that. First order of business, let's create a government. And the men of Virginia figured that the best way to come up with a government would be to come up with a list of rights all Virginia should have. And then just form your government to protect those rights. So the first thing they did, they published a Declaration of Rights, Virginia's Declaration of Rights, 16 rights, modeled after the English Bill of Rights given after the Glorious Revolution, because the English at this time were the freest people in the entire world. And the very first line, George Mason wrote our Declaration of Rights, and the very first line said, all men are by nature equally free and independent, and have certain inherent rights of which they cannot be denied. Does anybody see the name on that? Because every one of our delegates here in Virginia had a problem with it. What's the big problem in the 18th century?
Slavery.
Slavery, yeah. So they argued about it, but they changed it. They came up with a version that passed. They said all men are by nature equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights when they enter into a state of society. That's a nice little legal loophole, isn't it? Yeah, you get to be free and equal and independent, but you get to keep your slave. The only people in the state of society are free, white, male, Protestants, over 21 who own a significant amount. Well, but it is a step, isn't it? Within a month, Virginia had formed its new government, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and by June, they declared themselves free and independent of Great Britain on behalf of all 13 colonies, whether the other 12 liked it or not, 1 month before the Continental Congress did. But Jefferson goes on with the Declaration of Independence, modeled after our Declaration of Rights, and he said all men are created equal. It's a step. And then the Continental Congress goes further. They use our Constitution here in Virginia to model the federal Constitution. And then when none of the states would ratify the federal Constitution, they adopted parts of our Bill of Rights, parts of our Declaration of Rights as their Bill of Rights. There are some advantages to being first. Now, it is just a step, though, isn't it? Because they started in this group. This is where it all started. The idea that everyone was created. And we fell far short of that goal. But we did change the world. 90 years later, another generation decided that everyone truly is equal. And the enslaved in Virginia got their freedom. And we fell short again. But we did change the world. In the 1960s, another generation decided everyone truly is equal. The civil rights movement happened. And once again, we fell short. But we did change the world. So we can all see what's happening now. Our young people are getting involved in politics again. People are concerned about minority rights and women's rights. If this generation becomes the next generation that truly decides that everyone is equal, we will fall short. But together, we could change the world. My name is Wally, folks, and I hope you enjoy your visit to the Capitol today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I'm glad you came to visit. If you've got any questions, I'm going to yield the floor to my colleague who's just about to come in here. If you've got any questions, we're going to exit right out here, and I'll be right out here to answer your